All right, so the last topic for this section, the back of the house management type of operation stuff, is an inventory food cost analysis. Essentially, what we're going to look at is inventory turnover. So one of the things that we'll get into later in the semester is analyzing our income statement, our profit and loss statements. But we touched on food cost percentages. I also mentioned beverage cost percentages and labor cost percentages, although we haven't really worked with the labor cost yet. But the whole reason that we're in the restaurant industry and the whole reason that we have a business is to turn a profit. We want to have a profitable business. So we want our income statement, we want our bottom line to be positive. We want it to be a big profit. So our major categories, we have revenues and expenses. So we're going to sell items, we're going to generate revenues, but then we have to pay for those food and labor and all that. So we're going to have some expenses. So we need to make sure that we're analyzing those costs effectively. One of the we talked about figuring out food costs and things. Well, one of the things, another assessment that we want to look at is inventory turnover. And essentially what that means is it's the total number of times, or the number of times the total value of inventory has been purchased and replaced in an accounting period. So a lot of times when we talk about inventory turnover, we're going to talk about for a year. So annual inventory turnover. And it's going to vary depending on the operation, maybe as low as like 6 or 8, and up to 30 or 40. And essentially, we're going to work through how we calculate it. But essentially, what if somebody has an inventory turnover of 25 times? Well, basically they have purchased and replaced their entire inventory 25 times in an accounting period. Now, that might not be every single product, but that's kind of an average. You can take it further and actually analyze each product or each product category, but we're going to kind of look at it as total inventory. So the way that we calculate our inventory turnover, and I guess actually before we even get into calculating it, why is it important? Why do we even care about inventory turnover? Well, I mean, we have a lot of dollars tied up in inventory, and so we don't really want those products just sitting on our shelves. And so we want to look at our inventory turnover and see if there's, maybe our par levels aren't quite where they should be, and so we have more stuff sitting around than we need, and so it kind of gives us a basis to start doing some analysis. The way that we calculate it, our inventory turnover for food is we do the cost of the food consumed, which we figured out in our last thing, and we divide it by the average inventory. So the cost of the food consumed is the cost sold to customers, employee meals, waste theft. Essentially, it's our beginning inventory plus our purchases minus our ending inventory, and that's the cost of the food that's consumed. And then we divide that by the average inventory, which is just the beginning inventory plus the ending inventory divided by 2 to give us an average. So for restaurants, do we want high or low inventory turnover rates? Well, we want high, which is going to be counterintuitive since we're saying turnover, but we're talking about inventory. And for for our food inventories and beverage inventories, we want a high turnover rate. We want, and essentially what that means is we're going through that product. So we're having to constantly purchase more because we're selling out of the product that we have. Now, when we talk about, usually when we talk about turnover, we're talking about labor, and if we're talking about labor turnover rates, we want that really low because we don't want our employees cycling through. But we want the food. We don't want to keep our food sitting on our shelves. We want to sell it. And then there's one inventory practice known as FIFO, which is the most commonly practiced storage process, I suppose. But it's first in, first out. So when we order products, we put the old stuff at the back, we move the new stuff forward, so we always use the oldest stuff first. If we have a low inventory turnover, that's going to be really important. So when we start looking at products expiring and stuff, but we want our inventory rates to be high. We want to be selling that product, so constantly cycling through and ordering new product. All right, so to calculate it, first thing we want to do is determine our average inventory. So we take our beginning inventory plus our ending, divide it by 2. Next, we determine the cost of food consumed. And then we take the cost of food consumed and divide it by the average inventory. So average inventory is beginning plus ending divided by 2. And if we're looking at annual, you could do this. You might look at the monthly. Your beginning of every week, I suppose. Your beginning inventory of every week, and then divide that by 52, since there's 52 weeks in a year. But just basic, to make it easy, we do beginning plus ending divided by 2. To calculate the cost of food consumed, we did this in the prior videos. We looked at beginning inventory, we add in our purchases, we subtract out our ending inventory, and that's going to give us our cost of food consumed. So we look at this example. We're looking at fiscal year 2009, the Eccles Steakhouse. So he had a beginning inventory of $26,657, an ending inventory of $25,035, and purchases of $767,443. So the first thing that we do is we determine our average inventory. So calculator here. So our average inventory, let's use Excel. Excel's such a more handy tool. So 150. So inventory turnover, we got average inventory, beginning, ending, purchases. So we've got our average inventory. Our beginning is $26,657. 25,035, and purchases 767,443. Let's go currency. Okay. All right. So to figure out our average inventory, we do our beginning plus ending divided by 2. So beginning plus ending divided by 2, and that is going to equal this would be, so we're going to add in our beginning plus our ending and divide that by 2. So this tells me that my average inventory is $25,846. To figure out our food cost, that's going to be equal to beginning plus purchases minus ending, and that is equal to, we got beginning plus purchases minus ending. So our food cost for this fiscal year was $769,065. Make that, pretty that up too. And so then, if we go back, the way we figure we calculate it, it's the cost of the food consumed divided by the average inventory value. So the cost of food consumed is this, and the value is that. So we go inventory turnover equals the food cost divided by average inventory We don't want that in dollar signs. So our inventory turnover for the Eccles Steakhouse was 29.76. So essentially, we bought and replaced our inventory almost 30 times within a year. So every week and a half, we essentially went through our entire inventory. So that's a good inventory turnover rate. If we were at like 5, that's going to be really low, and so we're going to have to go back and question. So that's kind of the quick inventory turnover. It's not a huge topic, but it's one of those things that we need to talk about. So we need to make sure we're moving through our inventory. If we're not moving through our inventory, then we've got some additional analysis to do and figure out, how to minimize our capital investment in that inventory. And maybe our par levels are off. We're not, we're keeping too much product on hand for the amount of business that we're doing and such.